Hi to everyone tuning in and watching this masterclass today. My name is Elena Kolbrecht. I am the Executive Director of the Samuel Vargas International Music Foundation. We are very excited and honored to present this masterclass today featuring 5 SV scholars. These students study privately with Maestro Vargas, and aside from private lessons, they participate in 3 courses. One is a studio class, and the others are violin pedagogy and violin literature. Today they will be all playing a variety of works for our guest teacher, Professor Sergiu Schwartz. Maestro Schwartz holds the position as Professor of Violin at the Schwab School of Music and also at the Conservatoire de Lausanne, Switzerland. He has served as a juror in major international competitions, which include Tchaikovsky, Sarasate, Wieniawski, Michael Hill, Mozart in Salzburg, Oistrakh, and many, many others. The list goes on. We are so excited to have him here today. And as this masterclass is being presented in English, we also have Maestro Vargas here to act as a translator for all the students and our audience members who are watching.
Bienvenidos todos, muchísimas gracias a nuestra organización y especialmente al maestro Sergiu Schwartz por regalar su tiempo en la consolidación de esta Masterclass internacional el día de hoy, donde los alumnos del programa SV Scholars estarán presentando una variedad de repertorios que podrán ver en nuestra casillita de información en la parte superior del post. Sin más que decir, maestro, bienvenido, y a continuación empezaremos con la clase maestra y el primer violinista que estará ejecutando el concierto para violín en re mayor número 4 de Mozart, Samuel Estanga. Así que, maestro, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us and for taking your time to inspire us and also guide us through this amazing experience that I'm sure we are going to have today.
Thank you very much. Looking forward. Bienvenidos a todos.
Ok. A continuación, vamos a escuchar al joven Samuel Estanga. We're going to start with Samuel Estanga.
Very good. Wonderful qualities you have in playing Mozart. A very pure sound and nice intonation. Of course, everything gets filtered through whatever internet connection we can have, which is not like hearing you live in the same person like in a room, in a concert hall or in a studio. But we do the best we can with this internet connection. So from what I could hear, you have a lot of very good qualities, which are exactly what is necessary for this style of Mozart concerto. And I have a few things to say, not so much technical, but some ideas on how can you be more connected to the music, how can Mozart speak to you in different ways, and how can you speak to us as an audience. What you feel about needs to be conveyed and transmitted by Mozart. By the way, do you understand everything I'm saying in English? Yes? Okay, so it's interesting when you look at this structure of the piece. What is the beginning for you? Is it rhythm or is it melodic? What does it represent?
Mi opinión personal, yo diría más rítmico que melódico.
Okay, I understand, and I don't need translation for this. So you are saying that the beginning for you, it's more rhythmic than melodic. I even go as far as thinking that maybe this is like a trumpet signal, like a little fanfare. And you did it very well. But here's my question. When you started the cadenza, you played very expressively. Yeah, because you can see that Joachim wrote indication markings like espressivo, calando. Some places are scherzando. So it's obvious that it tells you something about the character. Usually the cadenza goes like more to emulate the exposition or the development subjects of the concerto. But in this case, let's reverse the order. And you play the cadenza very beautifully. So I'm asking you, could you take something from the cadenza expression and apply it into the exposition of the concerto? So it's not always going like rhythmical, like a march. Maybe changes sometimes. Would you try? Play again from the beginning. And look at the music and see where can you have a little bit more freedom to be more expressive. Okay, that's good. That's good. But see if you can actually play this a little bit slower, so you can hear what you call the melodic aspects of these intervals. Or if you take a... So you can find a melodic aspect into this. Do it a little bit slower and show me how do you hear this progression so it doesn't sound just metronome-like.
Juan Gabriel Hernandez de Argentina, 15 años de edad, estará ejecutando el Preludio y Allegro de Kreisler.
Hi, professor.
Hello. Very good. I enjoyed hearing you. Very nice.
Thanks.
Everything that I'm going to tell you, it's about Kreisler, it's about the music, and it's also about things which you can do better in terms of violinistic approach, in terms of a physical approach, because it's very important to be able to play the instrument with a degree of freedom and ease, so you don't work so hard. Now, having said this, if we know what we want to say musically, if it's clear, this becomes also more clear what you need to do with your arms. There is a direct connection between your musical concept and how you're going to execute this. And sometimes I have the feeling that things are not very clear to you. For instance, at the beginning, if I didn't know what Kreisler wrote, if I'm just sitting in the audience and listening, I would think that he wrote some kind of staccato or maybe some kind of interruptions between the sounds because you stopped the bow. But he didn't write staccato. He didn't even write those tenuto lines. He wrote accents. So that's a question for you. Does an accent mean to interrupt the sound? Or it just means that that sound just needs an impulse, an energy at the beginning? Because if he didn't have the accent at all, and considering that the piano gives you one harmony, just one chord, you play 4 notes, but the piano has only one chord for the harmony. Bum, bum. You understand? So if we didn't have the accents of Kreisler, wouldn't they sound like this? And so on. This is how it will sound. So I would like you, as an exercise, ejercicio, yeah? Do play without accents. Just play continuous legato, détaché, connect with your arms, and let's see what happens. Don't play.
May I translate? I'm gonna help him with the translation. Juan, el maestro te habla desde el principio que él se va a enfocar en cosas que son musicales y que te van a ayudar a tocar mejor, ¿ok? El maestro dice que cuando lo que nosotros sentimos está también conectado con lo que los brazos hacen, entonces en ese momento la música se hace muchísimo más sencilla, pero que el maestro siente que en ciertas áreas hay momentos en los que tú no estás claro en qué es lo que quieres y por eso los brazos no te responden de la misma forma. Entonces el maestro dice, si él estuviese en una audiencia sentado, él dice, wow, sí, parece que hay staccato en las notas, pero realmente él, que se sabe la obra, se da cuenta que Kreisler escribió acentos. Entonces, él lo que quiere que hagas a continuación como ejercicio es que sin los acentos, sin ninguna articulación, toques legato, détaché, cada nota conectado. ¿Por qué? Porque anteriormente cuando estabas tocando estabas parando el arco entre una nota y la otra. Entonces, por favor, haz este ejercicio para el maestro.
Okay.
Okay. Juan, Gabriel, you are still separating each note. And I told you that the piano plays one chord for at least one measure. So you don't have to play separated. At least these 8 notes, think about, don't give any accents. Try again. No accents, no separation, and just one line.
Solamente una línea sin acentos, détaché, sin parar el arco.
No? You see me saying no, but I want to say sí, but the problem is that I see your body moving, din, down, pump. Okay. Is it possible not to look at each note like it's the most important expression, because the expression is between the notes? So don't play accents and don't separate the notes. Just play. Look behind you. Do you see that thing? It has a lot of bricks. Look at these things. They are all of them. There are bricks, tiles, but they are put together. They are not separated. They are together.
Que mires detrás de ti y te des cuenta que en la pared hay una cantidad de ladrillos y todos ellos son pedacitos pequeños, pero no están separados. Son todos una sola cosa pegados. Están juntos.
Very good, very good, very good. Now, because I can see what you're doing, not only here, but also I can see, now I can relate to what you're doing. So I have some advice. First of all, congratulations. You sound wonderful. And there are not too many violinists aged 10 years old that can play this very difficult piece. And you also played sometimes quite at a fast tempo. I think if Jascha Heifetz was around to make some remarks, probably he will say to you that you play faster than he's doing it. Because, yeah, but that's not a bad thing. It's just that sometimes you get a little bit too fast and we don't hear the clarity of the notes. Now, as far as the beginning, try to have some sort of differentiation between the notes. They are not all the same. Some notes are going up, some notes are going down. Sometimes there is a modulation. Sometimes the harmony changes. So it's not all the same. So let's try to make some order in this, some structure. So out of these notes that I played for you, which ones do you feel that show one character and which ones do you feel that it shows another character, in your own words, in your own understanding?
Sebastián, de lo que acaba de tocar el maestro, ¿verdad? Él quiere trabajar contigo la dirección de las notas, ¿ok? Hay veces que va hacia arriba, a veces que va hacia abajo. Entonces, de eso que él acaba de tocar, en tus propias palabras, ¿cuáles notas tú crees que se mueven hacia arriba y cuáles notas crees que se relajan?
Diferente.
No, respóndele al maestro.
Bueno, las notas, cuando empieza a subir, va hacia arriba. Y
Okay.
cuando baja, cuando salgo el cambio, se relaja.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. There is a difference. So let's make a little bit of our own story, our own secret. Like we are going to make a little story, like a little poem, a little imagination. Like you think about these notes that you want the internet to work. So you say the internet has to work. And you're going to get a beautiful sound with the internet connection. And then the internet is not so good. So you get a little bit sad because I cannot hear you. So this is when it works. And then you will see when it doesn't work so good, you get a little bit sad. No, the internet doesn't work so well. You're a little bit sad. Now you try again. Again, the internet is not so good. So you get a little bit sad. But you want this to work. Again, you are a little bit sad. So can you express this kind of feelings when you play this? When you go up and when you go down? And do it with your own emotions, with your own story. Okay?
El maestro acaba de tocar y cuando él subía, él decía, tú quieres que el internet funcione y cuando vas hacia abajo, el internet no te está ayudando. Y luego lo intentas otra vez, sol, fa, sol, la, si, ajá, pero entonces cuando termina si, la, sol, entonces no te ayuda el internet. Crea tu propia historia con tus propias emociones con este pasaje.
Todo.
Very good, very good, very good. Muchas gracias, Sebastian. Now we go on with the same idea. And when you play the next variation, you have to find out what you want to express here. So again, it's not too fast, and you have to find a real story with all these lines going up and going down. This is not Vitali doesn't want to give you an exercise. This is a little bit better than this is better than this kind of music. Yeah. So when you hear something very beautiful musically, that the line goes up or the line goes down, or the line is more happy or the line is more melancholic, you have to show it. So by the time you arrive here, it's quite dramatic, it's quite intense, it's quite passionate, yeah? And we want to see this happening with your vibrato, with your bow, with your heart. Let's try this.
Ok, Sebastián, vas a intentar ahora desde el sol, si, mi, y vas a crear tu propia historia. ¿Qué es lo que quieres cantar? ¿Qué es lo que quieres decir? El contraste de las dinámicas. Cuando vas hacia arriba, cuando vas hacia abajo. Crea tu propia historia, tu propio carácter, ¿ok? Okay, very good, very good. Bravo, Sebastian. So look, this Chaconne by Vitali, it's in a way different than Chaconne by Bach. Chaconne by Bach, we have the original manuscript, and we know exactly what he wrote. You know, there is a similarity between Chaconne by Bach and Chaconne by Vitali because it has a thema, and then it has variazioni. So in this sense, they are very similar. Now, Chaconne by Bach, we have the manuscript, we know exactly what he wrote. But in the Chaconne by Vitali, we don't know exactly what he wrote because it was changed over the centuries. There were some violinists like David, like Charlier, or Leopold Auer, who changed the piece. So whatever we are performing, this edition which we are performing, which is performed by most of the violinists, including Heifetz, it's a very good edition, but it's not exactly what the Baroque style of Vitali might have been, because a lot has changed and this piece has become more romantico. You understand? So now when you have this expression, romantic, you don't have to be afraid that you need to play like some kind of Baroque, you know, like in the Italian style of Locatelli, Veracini, Tartini, Corelli. Is not important because now we are playing the Chaconne by Vitali with the version of David, Charlier, Leopold Auer, which is much more romantic. So I give you all this introduction to convince you
to play more vibrato here. Then it changes again, it becomes much more quiet. Could we do this section un poco agitato, molto vibrato, how do you say, more con anima? Let's try.
Okay. Sebastián, que por favor toque si, do, si, la, si, do, re con más vibrato, con alma, muchísimo más intenso, legato, y que después cambies el carácter en el comienzo de la segunda página.
Very good, very good, very good. You see, when you have an idea of what you want to do, you are playing with much more conviction. Yes, you understand this. We will stop here, but I'm glad that you played for us. It's wonderful to hear you, especially when the internet is working. And one of these days we'll get to hear you in person. Either I come to your home to say hello to your tigre and come to Venezuela, or you come to America and then we can see you here, because you have a wonderful future ahead and we really like what you're doing. Continue the good work and good dedication for the violin. Bravo.
Bravo, Sebastián. El maestro dice que está muy, muy emocionado y contento de haberte escuchado, que no todos los niños de 10 años tocan como acabas de tocar tú, y que él espera que o él vaya a Venezuela a saludar al tigre que tienes allá atrás de ti, o que tú vengas a América a verlo a él. Él está seguro de que vas a tener un futuro fantástico y está sumamente emocionado por haberte escuchado, así que bravo.
Muchas gracias, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Thank you so much, Maestro. Now we'll have Ausberto Rivas, who will be playing Sibelius Violin Concerto, third movement.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello, Ausberto. let's stop here. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for playing for me. You have very good qualities of sound and a very solid technique, which allows you to play well this movement. I just have some suggestions which are more about how to execute this more in the style of what Sibelius had in mind for the third movement. Maybe Samuel wants to translate. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, if you understand, then I will continue. Sibelius was a violinist himself. He studied violin, and he was not a very successful violinist. At some point in his life, he was even rejected in his entrance to conservatory, but he admired all the other violinists and he wanted to be a violinist himself. And then he wrote this wonderful concerto for us so that we can all have it. And I never met Sibelius because it's not from my generation, but I met two people who did play for Sibelius. And they told me a few things. When I learned this concerto, I worked with Isaac Stern and I worked with Ida Handel. So they were the links to this composer because they told me some interesting advice that they got and interesting stories when they played for Sibelius. Okay. Now, you are preoccupied a lot probably by thinking about this stroke that you have. Okay, so you're thinking about the staccato, yeah? But actually the staccato will go much better if you are in a better tempo, meaning the tempo that this piece has. You think that you have problems with the staccato. Think about the double bass at the beginning of the concerto. The double bass has to play this ricochet. You understand? So they also have some bow situation there. But for the ricochet to work, you need a little bit more forward motion, forward tempo, a little bit more feisty character, like you're trying to fight. You are a little bit laid back too much. Yeah, can we try a little bit faster? Very good. I'm glad that you can do this tempo. Now make sure that there is an articulation of the second note because you have. So from the second note, you already have to separate. You understand?
Yes.
Don't You need to have more separation. Yeah, try again. Very good. But in a situation like this, when the rhythm is so prevalent and the rhythm is so strong, we need to be very specific and very precise. I would advise you to play this like an accent and then a release. So you don't sustain that note because otherwise we have too much of a connection. Think about this release and then you start tara 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 tara. More clarity. Very good, very good. The second thing I want to mention to you, and I think you are perfectly capable to do it, is to make sure that the vibrato width, the vibrato span, is absolutely in the center of the note, because you are all the time on the same tonality. So sometimes when you play the long notes, they are a little bit too wide vibrato. If you go, so this re is not different so much of this re. When you have so that you can hear the harmonics, that is very focused, and then you have notes like here. So no, it's too large, too big, the vibrato. Attack and much more focus and much more narrow vibrato. Okay. Yeah, your vibrato is too big for this. You need to have the exact pitch of the note. Try again.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Okay.
You see, you can do it. You see, very good. One more thing. Sometimes your long notes before tara 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 taram, you're so anticipating to go to this section that your long notes are not long enough. Ti tara 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 ta tara 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 taram. Sometimes they are not long enough. That you can correct if you play with the metronome. Yes.
Okay.
When you have a passage like the aim of this passage is to arrive at forte, but you have to start in mezzo forte. So before you played forte, you were already in forte. And therefore, there was no development of a crescendo poco a poco. You started too loud. Try again this. Yeah, very good. I like your dynamics, but the rhythm, it has to be absolutely precise. Sometimes your rhythm, it's a little bit approximate. Try again this. With the exception of the end.
Insistió en lo que es el contraste entre un carácter rítmico y un carácter melódico dentro de los mismos pasajes de este concierto. Así que a continuación vamos a escuchar al último violinista de la Masterclass de hoy, antes de pasar a la sesión de preguntas y respuestas con el maestro Sergiu Schwartz. So now we are gonna listen to the last violinists of the masterclass. And after that, we'll go to a Q&A with Maestro Sergiu Schwartz, having questions about many topics, not just in the violin field, but also as an artist. So now Erick Ramos will be performing the Ysaye Third Sonata Ballade.
Hi, Maestro.
Hello. It's a little bit more structured. So that if you understand the story behind this and the reasons, then you know better how to play it. Do you know that Enescu wrote 2 rhapsodies? Okay, do you know that he also wrote Sonata number 3 in Romanian, you know, popular character, which was also kind of gypsy character, and he wrote quarter tones in this sonata, and Ysaye is using these quarter tones also in this piece. Do you see those squares that you have? A square with an X, with a dot up on the upper one and the dot on the under. That means a quarter tone higher or a quarter tone under. So it pretty much tells you to play a little bit sometimes out of tune, or to push a note a little bit higher, or to take a note a little bit lower, which is pretty much the intonation that Enescu had in in the popular character Sonata number 3. Also because he wrote the Rhapsodies, he's giving the title to this piece Ballade. And finally, this is my own theory. If Ysaye was worried about some violinists playing too fast, maybe he saw that Erick Ramos likes to play fast because, you know, he gives you the passages at the end. He knows that you like to play fast, yeah? But for all the violinists who like to play fast, he also wrote something very, very slow. Lento molto sostenuto is the beginning of his introduction movement. And very often you don't quite play the values of the notes the way he wrote it. Because okay, but if you take the main pulse of the quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 1, yeah, if this is the pulse, then the next one will be and instead of playing quarter notes like I played for you, you played 8 notes, you played twice faster. Do you remember how you played? You play. Why? You have to be very patient because Ysaye is trying to build a character, an atmosphere of mysticism, an atmosphere of mystery. So when he gives you pianissimo here, so everything is very expansive. Everything takes a lot of time for him to develop. Or when he plays, again, he says molto moderato, quasi lento. So you have to have the patience to play this kind of sustained, slow tempo, mysterious, and without letting the audience doesn't know what the subject comes later. We have no idea that he wants to play. We don't know what's coming. And now he says tempo giusto e con bravura. What does it mean, tempo giusto, for you?
Tempo giusto is like tempo adecuado in Spanish.
Very good, very good. It's a very strong rhythmic tempo that you are supposed to play very equal and equal. Yes, but what is bravura?
Bravura, forza.
Yeah, so you have both. It has to be steady tempo, but also bravura. So I think that the first measure you should consider like an introduction. It's like an introduction, and the bravura comes here. You understand? So this is the bravura. So you have to really have some sort of very extrovert feeling. So really go for it, go for it with much more feisty character, much stronger. Do you want to try, I want to try the beginning. I want to try the end. And I want to try try a little bit of the second part. Yes?
Okay.
No, Erick. This is your pulse. 1, 2, 3. 1. You have much more time. Play from the soul. Very good. I'm glad that you are beginning to play more in the right tempo, but the dynamics remains pianissimo. No crescendo here. Now it's surprise, sforzando, but you're making a crescendo before. Stay pianissimo. Okay, very good. Okay, Erick, it's also very important in music to try to understand what is the emotion that the composer wants to convey. Okay, this is not so objective music, is not something that goes like it's not this kind of classical style, yeah? So you have much more freedom here. So there is a certain character and emotion. So if you play something that has fermata, you have to understand what is it afterwards, something that gives you more time or less time. Actually, the time becomes bigger. So he's expanding the time from 1 to 2 to 3. So it gives you much more time. It's very important to do this because if you ask the question, why is he doing this? He wants something that is calmando. He wants you to relax more. You are a little bit excited and then you relax. So there's more time. Now play from the end of this movement and go into the tempo giusto. Okay, very good. Again, looking at the score, you memorize this. It's very good that you memorize this, but you have to look at the score every day when you practice because you might discover something that you missed before. He writes everything in fortissimo, so you need much more drama, much more resistance, much more heavy kind of here. He writes accents on each note. He writes fortissimo. You're going very fast and very un poco superficial, a little bit too light. You understand? So you have to treat this like really it has more resistance with the instrument. So it's not something that it's later he can play. Later he has kind of pianissimo movements like it's water, like a little bit like Debussy. You understand? So you have to look at your tempo, you have to look at your character, and when he starts allargando, sometimes you don't make allargando. This is allargando, but you didn't do it. You understand? So my advice is to take a piece like this, which is very free. Ballade, rhapsodic is like Tzigane by Ravel, but he writes exactly what tempo to do, where to put the accent, what dynamic to do, what character to do, the tempo, everything is written there. And Ysaye was a great violinist, so you have to listen to what he was asking you to do. Yes? He's telling you how to play. Every phrase has a specific indication how to do it. So that's my advice to you, to try to be more precise with what's written in the score. Okay? Bravo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maestro.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to summarize in Spanish. El maestro trabajó con Erick lo que son las proporciones rítmicas y de tempo. También acotó la importancia de conocer el porqué de la obra, el origen de la obra y la procedencia de la obra, de manera de que podamos estar más conectados con lo que es el contexto histórico y lo que la obra representa, de forma que como artistas y ejecutantes podamos llevar el mensaje del compositor y respetar exactamente lo que está escrito en la partitura. Asimismo, le mencionó a Erick lo que significaban cada uno de los aires musicales escritos, es decir, cuándo era Allegro, justo con bravura, cuándo era largamente, todo este tipo de indicaciones que son importantes de entender de manera de que podamos respetar lo que está escrito en la partitura, al mismo tiempo que la importancia de los valores rítmicos. Por supuesto, el maestro menciona la importancia de la memorización, que fue algo que le felicitó a Erick, pero que ahora uno de los trabajos más importantes que hay que hacer es el de sentarse con la partitura y poder llevar eso que nos aprendimos de memoria en combinación a lo que el compositor escribió en la partitura. Thank you so much, Maestro. Now we are going to dedicate some minutes for the Q&A. We have questions for you from our audience and also from the students. So I will give the pass to Elena, who will share with you the questions, and I will help her translating in Spanish.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I will read you one of the questions. Most of these have been asked in Spanish, but we translated them to English, and then Samuel will repeat the question in Spanish. You'll be free to answer, and then he'll give a summary of your answer. So I'm going to combine two questions to start because there were two questions that were focusing on different things, but both talking about technique and musicality. So when you are trying to develop yourself as a violinist or a musician, how do you develop your musical side beyond the technical, especially when that's maybe not your strong point naturally? And with that being said, how can you combine those two elements and balance them to have a good relationship that they work together and they serve each other?
It's a long question, but I think I understand. And my feeling is that there is no separation when one looks at musical or technical means, because it all goes together. And of course, we have to have the equipment. The violinistic equipment requires many, many years of coordination, preparation of the left hand, intonation, vibrato, shifting, the subtleties, the flexibility of the bow arm, and where the sound is coming from. But once you have mastered this, and my impression is that all of the students who play today, they have quite good equipment how to play. But my good fortune was that from the beginning, with all my wonderful maestros that I had and teachers, and who were themselves students of Karl Flesch, of Jacques Thibault, Enescu, Oistrakh, and all the people that I met later in my life, they were all going from one idea: music and technique together. So it has to be developed together. I don't see any separation there. And the sooner, the better. That's what I'm saying. Even when teaching a child, one has to find musical principles so that those musical principles will determine a more precise technique, a more sophisticated technique. I hope this answers the question.
El maestro menciona que ambos elementos van de la mano, la técnica y la musicalidad, y que existe esa conexión y que por supuesto es necesario tener todas las herramientas técnicas para poder desarrollar el aspecto musical, pero que él considera que todos los estudiantes que tocaron el día de hoy en la Masterclass poseen estas herramientas técnicas y que por supuesto el maestro tuvo el privilegio de trabajar con maestros que estudiaron con Jacques Thibault, con Karl Flesch, maestros que vienen de esa línea y desde ese principio donde la música y la técnica son uno solo. Y esto le permitió pues al maestro desarrollarse de tal forma en el que el principio básico o fundamental de la ejecución instrumental fuese el propósito musical, y que espera que esto responda la pregunta.
Thank you. I have a follow-up for that. Very practically speaking, how could a student work to apply intertwining music and technique in their own practice and learning of a piece?
Well, I think to look back into a certain kind of tradition where all the golden generation violinists, how did they play, and to be well informed how they used to play, and to look at the generation of those who are a little bit older, and finally to look at the people, the young people, how they play today. We have a lot of means at our disposal. We have technical means, and we have information and internet, so we can gather a lot of information. But that's not enough, because you have to look also at the score, and you have to try to understand, and you have to try to listen. Very few people actually are able to understand that it's not the way the notes are printed, or everything that it's printed in terms of a graphic message, that's not good enough. If this was good enough, anybody who has an edition of Paganini Caprices, Brahms Concerto, Sonatas, Bach, Ysaye, everybody will play very well if they have good technique. But it's only the people who understand the relationship, the organization, the structure, and the premise of how the composer was hearing the music himself. That's when we are able to actually play beyond the notes. Because if we only had to play the notes, then everybody will sound extraordinarily boring, actually not musical enough. Because the music is not just the notes, but the music is the relationship of the notes. And we have to be very well aware of what we hear and what is in a score, and how to try to understand the score. You see, pianists understand much better than violinists what are the musical principles, because from the beginning, they know that the piano, it's a mechanical instrument, and they have to make music with hammers, which are hitting the string. Violinists have this wonderful tool, the bow, the vibrato, everything sounds like a singer, but instead of using this tremendous gift that the violin has to sound more musical, we are wasting our time by looking into every little thing and how to do it technical, but actually we don't understand how the music goes. The organization of the music, the structure, the harmony, the form, the shape, the dynamics, the colors, everything is there. We just have to open it. It's like, it's supposed to be like a secret, but it's not a secret, it's there in front of us. And only those who have the patience and the ambition and the motivation and the dedication to do it, they will succeed.
Muy bien. El maestro menciona que en la actualidad nosotros tenemos todos los recursos necesarios para hacer este tipo de investigación y respondernos cómo es que podemos integrar la música y la técnica al momento de interpretar. Pero él realmente menciona que lo más importante es que debe existir un estudio de la partitura, debe existir un estudio de lo que es el discurso y el lenguaje escrito en la partitura, y que si la música fuese simplemente una representación gráfica de notas, entonces todo el mundo tocaría igual y todo sería sumamente aburrido, que realmente lo que hace que la música vaya más allá de las notas es la capacidad que tiene el intérprete de entender y de analizar desde una perspectiva musical lo que el compositor escribió. Y que en este caso los pianistas llevan un poco más de ventajas que nosotros y entienden mejor la música que los violinistas, porque ellos desde que se sientan en el piano entienden que hay un mecanismo que presiona la tecla a través de un martillo y que ellos tienen que hacer música con eso. Mientras que nosotros tenemos el arco y el vibrato, y esto ya es un regalo, pero que no lo utilizamos de manera correcta porque no hacemos el trabajo que ellos hacen, que es el de analizar la obra, el de entender que hay estructuras armónicas, que hay estructuras melódicas. Entonces, el maestro considera que es muy importante que nosotros podamos llevar el entendimiento de lo que hacemos más allá de las notas, más allá de la técnica, a un entendimiento musical completo.
Thank you. And thank you, Professor Schwartz, because you brought up a good point of understanding that someone else asked about. When you're learning a piece and you are looking at the background of the piece and the context and an understanding of harmony, what can you still do to maintain your own identity? Or what is something that you do when you want to take all these things into consideration and honor the composer and honor what they intended, but also be you? What are some things that you do?
Well, this is a question which pretty much brings to me the need and the preoccupation that young people have to take a particular place amongst the performers. In other words, everybody is looking for an identity. Everybody is looking for an individuality. And it's very interesting that people want to have individuality and want to represent their own feelings. But at the same time, we are living in an era where there is so much information there, and there is so much that we are looking out how the last winner of this competition or that competition, how do they play? And then hundreds and hundreds of young violinists are trying to play exactly like this person because this person won the first prize. So this is a contradiction, that we want individuality and personality while we are also imitating pretty much people who are themselves, how should I say, a copy of a copy of a copy of a great Menuhin or Jascha Heifetz or Milstein or Isaac Stern and so many others, where I had the opportunity to meet in person and work in person with these people, with Schering, with Milstein, with Menuhin, with Isaac Stern. So I don't have to rely to certain copies of this one. Actually, I could work with these people in person. But all of them stressed to me one thing, that if we stick to what is written first in the score, we will find our personality, because nobody has the same prints on the hand. Nobody has the same ears. Nobody has the same speed of trill or the same way of doing staccato. or the certain way of making a sound. Everybody hears this differently. So my advice to young people is not to be afraid of trying to stick out as a personality or individuality, because they already have it. You'll have much more personality and much more individuality if you understand the source of the music and you don't try to imitate somebody else, but you try to play exactly what you understand that Brahms or Sibelius or Beethoven wrote. Because my first meeting with Isaac Stern, when I came to tell him, and this happened many times, oh, your Beethoven concerto was fantastic, or your Brahms sonata was extraordinary. He will point to the score, he will say, I'm playing exactly what is there. And Casals said exactly the same thing. First of all, you have to play what is there, and then you'll find your own personality, because nobody is going to sound like somebody else. Everybody has personality. So I'm telling the young people, don't be afraid about sticking out and individuality, because you already have it. Be much more truthful and honest about what kind of music you want to play.
El maestro menciona que esta es una de las controversias que sucede en la actualidad con la generación joven de violinistas, cuando nos tratamos de desarrollar en un ambiente donde las competencias de violín y la forma en la que vemos a los violinistas se basa simplemente en un proceso de imitación. Queremos tocar como tal persona, queremos sonar de tal forma, pero realmente no nos tomamos el tiempo de sonar como lo que el compositor realmente quiso que sonáramos. Entonces aquí entramos en una contradicción donde queremos preservar la individualidad y la identidad, pero estamos tratando de imitar a alguien más. Entonces el maestro que tuvo el privilegio de trabajar con Isaac Stern, con estos grandes violinistas del siglo pasado, pues por supuesto siempre le apuntaron a él la importancia de que lo que ellos tocaban y lo que era fantástico, un gran concierto de Brahms, una gran sonata de Beethoven, era lo que el compositor había escrito. Entonces el maestro considera y cree que lo más importante es que ustedes no tengan miedo de ser diferentes. Es decir, cuando ustedes se aprenden la obra y son honestos con lo que está escrito en la partitura, entonces en ese momento ustedes van a desarrollar la individualidad, porque cada uno de ustedes es diferente. Cada uno de ustedes tiene una huella dactilar diferente. Cada uno de ustedes es único. Y eso es algo que va a salir naturalmente, única y exclusivamente si ustedes pueden leer y pueden estudiar lo que la partitura realmente tiene como mensaje. Entonces su sugerencia es no tengan miedo a ser diferentes o a mostrar su identidad, pero eso tiene que estar fundamentado en lo que es el contexto y la escritura de la obra.
Thank you. The next question I have is to do with physicality of playing. So how can we as violinists, and I'm sure you can even speak to all stringed players, improve relaxation when playing, in particular fast passages?
Well, it depends from person to person, because everybody has a different regimen of practicing. Some people have been trained not to play a note before they hear it, not to play a double stop, an interval, a shift before they hear it. And that means that it might be a little bit slower because you need to hear it. It's just like when we talk, we don't open the mouth and we don't emit any sounds before we have a process of thought. We have to think and then we talk. Very often, because we have the bow and we have the fingers, very often we play in what is called automatic motion, meaning we can play lots of notes because we can. We can play lots of notes with the bow, spiccato, détaché, long notes, because we can. But again, I'm thinking about singers. Would a singer think two notes, an interval, without hearing the next note? They will never sing without hearing. This is why singers work a lot with pianists all the time, so they can develop a center of tonality, a center of harmony, so they can sing in tune. Violinists often play, but they don't hear what they play. And this is what I'm advising all my students. to play slower, but to play at the tempo that it takes you to hear something. If you can hear it correctly, then you will be able to play it. And then you will find out if it's in tune or not in tune, if it's correct rhythmically, or if it's accurate, or if it's precise, or it's not. And that's my advice, not to just play, but also to listen. And this is the reason why great violinists like Jascha Heifetz, in general, they never practice more than 3 or 4 hours per day, or Fritz Kreisler, even less. But why? Because most of the time they were thinking about music, they were listening to the music. George Enescu, who was a giant, he was a great violinist, a great pianist, a great conductor, a great composer, he was a teacher. He didn't have so much time to practice, but in his head there was music all the time. So that's what I'm advising everybody. Try to listen more and play actually when you have an idea, what do you want to play? And something that was said by Ruggero Ricci that I will never forget. He said, the fewer times you will play a note out of tune, the better. Try to get the note in tune from the first time. So that means that you have to hear it first, because anything that is repeated over and over and it's bad, out of tune, not good rhythm, not good sound, you will play like this. But if you try to play it right from the beginning, you will have it for the rest of your life.
Muy bien. El maestro habla de que este tipo de relación entre la relajación y los pasajes técnico-instrumentales depende muchísimo de las personas y del tipo de violinista, ya que cada individuo y cada cuerpo es totalmente diferente. Y que el principio fundamental para poder desarrollar esto es que entendamos que las manos no van a reaccionar más rápido de lo que nosotros escuchamos. Entonces, la recomendación general para hacer un resumen de lo que el maestro dice es que cuando nosotros estudiamos, nosotros estamos tocando, pero en comparación, un cantante tiene un intervalo, el cantante hace una nota y luego tiene que escuchar el intervalo antes de poder cantar la nota siguiente. Nosotros como violinistas no hacemos eso. Tocamos en piloto automático, es decir, todo sucede por un aspecto mecánico, pero no nos tomamos el tiempo de escuchar lo que vamos a tocar. Y que en su experiencia con los grandes maestros y algo que dijo Ruggero Ricci es que en las pocas veces que él fallaba una nota, mejor. ¿Por qué? Esto quiere decir que hay que estudiar las notas y no fallarlas desde el principio. Es decir, hay que tocar afinado y correctamente desde el principio. Y esto aplica para la mecánica y lo que es la coordinación de ambas manos. Si yo no lo escucho primero, no voy a tener la posibilidad de reproducirlo en el instrumento porque se vuelve meramente un proceso técnico. Y como no lo escucho, entonces sigo fallando. ¿Por qué? Porque la idea tonal de las notas no están claras en nuestra mente.
Thank you. The next question we have here was asked by 3 people. In summary of all of those questions, what aspects or elements must musicians develop to be a successful artist or have a successful career besides, practice and do these things that are so instrument-centered? What else do we need to develop as musicians?
Well, this is something that it's a very good question, because we live in a time where we are not separated from what goes into the music industry, what goes in the world of the audiences, what goes in the world of changing fashions and trends, and we must be aware of this. And most of the young people are quite aware and quite savvy that the means of interaction and the means of publicity have changed because of the means of media have changed. And some of the young people are very good at this. at promotion and trying to put out a program or trying to make themselves being known. And that's fine, that's fine. Even Paganini was a great master in publicity. And going back to Mozart, his father was quite an impresario for the young little Wolfgang to present him to all of the capitals of the world that he is the father of a genius, prodigy, a wunderkind. So this is not new, that we need to have promotion and that we need to have people to recognize our talents. And I think the young people know very well what the means are in terms of the technical platforms and the media and the internet and everything. My concern is that when everybody does this with some sense of value and some sense of honesty and a great, wonderful playing, people will find out and people will pay attention. When I'm looking around new musicians, young musicians, and I find somebody who's playing sincere, somebody who plays honest, somebody who's not putting on a show just for the sake of the show, but actually understands the music at a very deep level, we, in turn, other musicians, are promoting these people because we love what we hear, and we become very enthusiastic about talking to our friends about it. So suddenly you have an extra dimension of word of mouth. All of the musicians start talking about such and such young pianist or such and such violinist or cellist who are truly great musician, wonderful. So we are promoting these people more than they can promote themselves with the media. But the first condition is to be a good musician.
El maestro habla de que esta es una pregunta muy importante y muy interesante, ya que en la actualidad, en comparación con el pasado, ahora tenemos las redes sociales, ahora tenemos la media. ¿Y qué es lo que sucede? Que muchísimos músicos en la actualidad tienen la capacidad de exponerse y de postear y de hacerse una campaña promocional para su éxito, que es bastante interesante, y esto es bueno. Sin embargo, el maestro habla de que hay una diferencia entre el músico, el artista, que se hace una campaña promocional con el simple propósito de exponerse, y el músico que es honesto, que es transparente hacia lo que está tocando, que entiende a profundidad lo que está ejecutando, y que en este momento, cuando un violinista, cuando un músico se expone con ese grado de transparencia y honestidad, las personas que escuchan se vuelven en un testimonio. Y ese testimonio es lo que hace, este pianista o este violinista es increíble. Entonces ya la gente, ese testimonio de las personas es lo que hace la carrera de este músico exitosa. ¿Por qué? Porque lo que llama la atención es la transparencia y la honestidad de esa ejecución. Y que por supuesto el maestro dice, antes de todo esto hay que ser un gran ejecutante. Entonces es como una cadena de eventos que garantizan el éxito en la actualidad, pero siempre desde, por supuesto, lo que es la ejecución instrumental y ese compromiso individual que tenemos con la música.
Thank you, Samuel. And thank you, Professor Schwartz. We do have 2 more questions. Do you have the time?
I have all the time for the young people. I'm very interested to be a mentor to them and to help and to clarify some of the questions they have, whether it's musical or about their life or about my life.
Okay, perfect. So the next question we have is, how can we explore and improve our sound?
I actually like this question very much because the nature of the violin is itself connected to the human voice. And it's very important that from the beginning, we develop a sense of aesthetics for the sound. People say that they are born to play a good sound, but to a certain extent, you have to have a certain instinct, you have to have a certain ability to play a beautiful sound. But also this can be developed if your teacher, your maestro, has a beautiful sound, this is what you're going to hear every time when you go to lesson. If your mother or father was singing beautifully, you heard something that already entered your system of how do you hear sound. If you go to a concert and an artist has mesmerized you with a beautiful sound and you like it, you will try to do it. And I think you have to constantly reach out to people who have this quality of singing or playing the cello or the violin or the piano. Or look, I heard some people play the tuba. Tuba. Boom, 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 boom. Doesn't matter. If it had a beautiful sound, I liked it. You understand? So you have to constantly seek a source of inspiration. I ask my students many times to go back and listen to the great tenors, to listen to the great sopranos, to listen to opera, because you cannot be on the stage of the opera if you don't have a beautiful voice. Nobody's going to hire you. Quite to the contrary, I hear lots of violinists, and string players and pianists who are massacring, I'm sorry to find no better word than this, than massacring the instrument with such bad sound production. And no, doesn't matter. Nobody likes them, but they play. Only their manager likes them, okay? So what I'm saying, go for the people that can inspire you. Every day you can find somebody that has a magic sound, has a beautiful sound. And I'm talking about this with my students all the time. And some of them are older artists and some of them are younger artists. It's not only in the past, it's also today that we can hear something very beautiful and be inspired.
El maestro habla de que esta es una pregunta que a él le gusta muchísimo debido a que estamos hablando de lo que es la materia prima del músico, el sonido. Y cuando él habla del sonido, él propone dos elementos. El primero es el que está relacionado con el instrumento, que está íntimamente relacionado a las características del instrumento, y el otro es a lo que es la identidad del violinista, a lo que el violinista está expuesto y a lo que él escucha. Él habla de que en la actualidad, cuando hablamos de sonido, cuando hablamos de lo que diferencia a un músico de otro, una de las sugerencias que él tiene para la generación actual es que busquen a esas personas que tienen un sonido bello, a esas personas que los dejan impresionados cuando lo escuchan. ¿Por qué? Porque eso es lo que nos inspira como violinistas a llegar a alcanzar ese tipo de sonido, ese tipo de identidad propia. Y que él dice, si el maestro tiene un sonido bello en cada clase, eso es lo que vamos a escuchar. Si el papá o la mamá cantan y lo que escuchamos es ese sonido bello, ese hermoso canto, eso es lo que vamos a estar expuestos. Por eso es que el maestro nos invita a que podamos buscar y compartir con esas personas que tienen esas cualidades, que tienen esos sonidos. Él habla de que en la actualidad hay muchísimos músicos, muchísimos violinistas que masacran el instrumento y que tienen conciertos y la gente no les gusta, pero trabajan y tienen grandes carreras. Entonces, tratemos de recordarnos a nosotros mismos que el sonido al final se vuelve nuestra marca, nuestra identidad, y que si buscamos, y no solamente en la generación pasada, sino en el hoy, músicos que tienen esta identidad musical, nosotros vamos a desarrollar esa capacidad, y es algo que el maestro siempre habla con sus alumnos. Y sin importar que sean grandes artistas, ya personas mayores o la nueva generación.
Thank you. And lastly, I think this is a very fitting question. It's a loaded question too. It's from Juan Gabriel. He asked, what qualities does a good teacher have, and what does it mean for you to be a good teacher?
Well, there is a short and a long answer to this. And the short answer is that some teachers can have the instinct and the structural analysis of giving good advice, but they cannot play. Some are playing very well, but they cannot express or they cannot transmit any knowledge about how to do it. You just listen and you try to get whatever you can get. I consider myself as part of the third category, which everything that I'm teaching is from the perspective of what I learned, what I performed, and what I believe I can still do, despite the fact that I'm no longer 18 years old. So what I'm trying to teach my students is from my own experience and everything that was transmitted to me through a great generation of wonderful artists with whom I was in contact directly. As Isaac Stern mentioned one time, you can not learn this just by reading about how to play from a book. You can read The Art of the Violin by Flesch. You can read Galamian. You can read Dunis. You can read all of the writings from going back to all the history of the violin, going back to even Leopold Mozart. And you can learn a lot about the style and a lot about, even about Bach. He was playing violin and he was playing viola. You can learn a lot. I'm not saying that people should not read. People should read a lot because it's important for our historic background. But actually how to play and how to realize the music, you have to be in contact with a great source of inspiration. And I just wish everybody good luck that they find that person, because sometimes people go for the name of a school. If the school has a big name on the top of the building and it's in a big city, it must be that it's great. But personally, I never went for the school. I went for the person. I went for the individual maestro who could give me the knowledge that I felt that is the best musician. If it happened to be also a great school, fine. I went to all of these great schools. Okay, I was there. But I was less interested in the building and much more interested in the people that I could learn something from them.
Muy bien, el maestro tiene dos respuestas para esto, una corta y una larga. La corta es que, por supuesto, hay maestros que tocan muy bien, pero no tienen la capacidad de enseñar o de transmitir el conocimiento a los alumnos. Hay otros maestros que tienen el don y el regalo de poder enseñar, pero que no pueden tocar. Y finalmente, una tercera categoría, que es en donde el maestro se ve reflejado, que son aquellos artistas que tienen la capacidad de enseñar gracias a su propia experiencia, a lo que vivieron y a lo que pueden hacer como artistas aún en la actualidad y lo que creen que pueden tocar, dado que el maestro menciona, ya no tengo 18 años. Entonces, este aspecto es muy importante y lo lleva a él a lo que es la fuente de inspiración para ser maestro y sobre todo para ser el estudiante de eso, de un gran maestro. Él dice que muchísimos alumnos en la actualidad se enfocan en el gran nombre de la institución. Si tiene un gran nombre, quiere decir que me van a enseñar música, pero que realmente el enfoque de un estudiante a la hora de buscar un maestro es la persona que puede crear ese cambio, que lo puede inspirar a ser mejor. Y aquí es cuando el maestro dice que es muy importante leer, pero que sin importar que sepamos toda la historia de Bach, que vayamos al pasado con Mozart, lo que realmente va a crear un cambio en la forma en la que ejecutamos el instrumento es esa fuente de inspiración que viene del maestro, porque se enfoca en lo que es la identidad y cada una de las características individuales del estudiante. Entonces, él les desea suerte en la búsqueda de un maestro siempre a todos los alumnos que él ha conocido, en la búsqueda de un maestro que pueda inspirar este cambio, porque eso es realmente lo que crea esa búsqueda interna de el violinista. Y por supuesto, al final, convertirse en un gran maestro.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Schwartz, for your time today and your wisdom. It has been very inspiring as a listener. I know it is inspiring as a student and a player as well. So it is invaluable, and we all thank you. On behalf of all of us here, all of us listening, and all the people who have supported us and made today possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Wishing everybody lots of success and recognition and happiness in music. And do not worry about the future, because it's going to be much better in 2020. 2021 is going to be much better. Don't worry about so many things that you are worried right now. It's going to be fine, and everybody is going to have a good future. Just stay on the track and stay dedicated to your profession and to your music, because it's a wonderful profession. And as a good friend of mine told me once, we are so blessed to be in this profession. And this person said, what kind of profession you wouldn't like to do? And he said, I wouldn't like to take the toll on the booth, you know, on the highway, to take the toll on the booth, you know, that wouldn't be a good profession for me. So just don't worry about your future, because it's going to be a wonderful future. You are in the right direction. You have a beautiful profession, and just vaya con Dios. How do you say? Vaya con Dios. Yes. Trust God has a plan for you. Don't worry.
El maestro dice que no se preocupen por el porvenir ni por el futuro, que el año 2021 va a ser mucho mejor que el 2020 y que como violinistas y como músicos están en el camino correcto, porque no pueden estar más bendecidos de hacer música y de estar en este mundo del arte, porque es no solamente un trabajo, sino una pasión. Es algo que hacemos porque realmente lo queremos, y que les desea muchísimo éxito y que siempre sean dedicados al trabajo que hacen y sigan a su corazón en este proceso en el que están de aprendizaje. Thank you so much. For me as your student and for you as my mentor, is a pleasure now to see a new generation of violinists that is also looking up to inspiration and to the real important aspects of being an artist and being a musician. I am very grateful for you to guide me, for you to work with me and take me where I am now as a violinist, and also for having the opportunity to share everything that I have learned with my students. So I think this is one of the biggest privileges I have ever had. And I will continue sharing and letting people know that what we do is not just something about music and the magic of transformation, is the nature of humanity. So I really thank you, Professor Schwartz. I congratulate all my students, and thank you so much, Elena, for making this possible in the structure and logistics for the masterclass. Thank you so much to everybody that has supported the foundation, and we will continue working towards the success of these artists and these young students who from all over the world have been dreaming and have wanted to build what their dreams are, like we once did. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in another opportunity. Congratulations.
Thank you.